Hey everybody, Ken Condon from Riding in the Zone. I thought I'd give you a little update on what's been going on in the garage lately. It's really cold and snowy outside, so what does a motorcycle rider do in those conditions? You find an old bike to work on. So this thing here I picked up, I don't know, a few months ago, and it's always been a bike that I've admired. I had a brand new 82 CB900F. This is the 1100F, so this is the 1 year after, so it's an 83. And they made it just for 1 year. It ended up being the bike that was Honda's last sort of air-cooled inline-4 sport bike. This was their super bike that they built racers off of. Actually, not so much the 900 and the 750. So it's a really cool bike. And like I say, I had a brand new 900 and I loved it. Had it for 60,000 miles and just rode it everywhere. So anyhow, I came upon this. I'd been sort of looking for one. They can go for a lot of money, but this one I got, I probably overpaid for it. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did. And so I'm in it, now for more than it's probably worth. But I got to tell you, I've been having a blast working on it, so I'm all good. So here it is, the 1100F. It's got, really was in pretty good shape, the thing sort of was all there. It was a runner. I took it for a spin when I bought it, and it was running pretty good. The carburation was a little rough, and it made a few noises here and there. I figured the cam chain, so I adjusted that. Synced the carbs. After taking the carburetors off and completely cleaning them, I didn't take them off the rail. If those of you know what that means taking each one of the carburetors apart from the bank. But I got in there and I got them really pretty clean. I also made it so that I can adjust the pilot screw, which is something that, for emissions back in the day, they blocked off, and it's right up under here. And so I made it so that I can adjust those, which is good because when I put it all back together, that was the thing that when I took it for a ride, it really wasn't riding much better than when I had done all the work to it. And then I tweaked the air screws and things were good. And it's actually running pretty good. I'd not say 100%, I think it's about 92%, but that's just a matter of if I can get back in and tweak it some more next spring. But you can see the bike is really pretty good. Mechanically, it's good. It's got a lot of miles on it. It's got 39,000 miles. So that's the one thing I wish, but I will say that I did a compression check on it, and it's good. I was very surprised and happy to see that the compression on this was good. I checked it after I did the valve clearances, and which is good because one of the valves had really no clearance at all. I think it was the number 2 exhaust. And so then once I did that, and the compression was spot on, so it's really good. I was happy about that. So even though it's a lot of miles, it seems healthy. Like I say, the cam chain may be the thing that is going to mean that it might have to be taken apart at some point, but we'll see. I'm going to ride it. I just want to ride it, It doesn't have to be showroom condition or anything like that. But I have been working on the cosmetics of it. I just took the exhaust off and I painted the headers. They look pretty good. I want to get a glossier look that matches the black chrome, which was the original, which was, you can't get anymore because it's environmentally insensitive. So anyhow, from about here forward where it was rusty, I painted it black. I think it looks pretty good. The black chrome that's in here, you can see it's a little pitted. That's sort of normal for the era. If you find a perfect one, that thing's worth money. But everything's stock. I mean, the shocks are stock. These rear sets, everything is the way it came when it was new. And the seat's in great shape. Put new tires on it. I went with the Battle Axe, the Bridgestone Battle Axe, and they're nice. On my Eddie Lawson bike, I'd put some Conti radials on it. And just more, I was planning on riding that more on the track. But these are great, just all around tires. These absolutely could be ridden on the track as well. You're not going to ride these bikes terribly aggressively. But see, it looks pretty good. I haven't really done much. I've been kind of cleaning it up. These like the stator cover here was all like they always do. There's a clear coat that's on them that sort of pits and gets all nasty and stuff. So you can just take it off, and I took it off with sandpaper and steel wool, and that kind of takes just a little elbow grease. But anyhow, this is like what it's been like to have an old bike, and it, like I say, it was a runner, so you could have just ridden it, and I did. I mean, I rode it quite a bit actually this fall. Now it's just, this time of year I have the time. I'm going to clean things up, make them look good. One thing I did a few different things, but one thing I did is I put the clutch back together. It has slipping. When I took it for a test ride, I came back and told the owner, says, your clutch is slipping. He says, what do you mean? I've never felt that. I said, well, right up around 6,000 RPM. He goes, oh, well, that's why I never bring it up past 6,000, up to 6,000 RPM. It's like, oh, well, okay, anyhow. Right at the torque curve where, it really puts the power down, the clutch was slipping. So I just put it back together, and I haven't ridden it yet with the new clutch. And I ended up, those of you who know clutches, or if you want to know about clutches, these are the friction plates. So these are kind of made out of like a cork material, and they are the things that run between. It's like sandwiched. So these are all sandwiched in between. Metal plates go between these, and so as you ease out the clutch, these all get squished together, and when you release the clutch, the springs open them up, and that's why you can, the motor won't go with the clutch in. So that's you squeezing in, releasing. So these plates actually, they spec'd okay, but they're hard. I mean, these are 40-year-old clutch plates. So I put some new EBC plates in, and I cleaned everything up. The clutch basket I kind of worked on a little bit so that it was smoother, because these create grooves in the basket that these lay in. It's like think about it as a big cylinder, and it just slides in like that. So anyhow, I cleaned that all up. And I will say that also, I've really not done a clutch before. I've done a lot of stuff on bikes, but I ended up spending way too much time on this because I put things in backwards, didn't realize it till afterwards, had to undo things, thought I might have missed a washer, took it back out. No, I was fine. I just, didn't see the washer around, so I assumed it was in there, but I took it apart and make sure, just because, I mean, you're going to end up, starting it and something's wrong, and you're going to wonder if that's what it was, and you have to take it apart anyhow. So as I know now, it's all good. So I also had to borrow a tool from Berkshire Cycles and Brad, and he's great about letting me do that. He's up the road a little bit, and it was a special nut that takes the the nut that holds all the basket in. I got that out of there. So I will end up spraying the cylinders because they are faded quite a bit, and that will really make it look nice. You can see the cover, it looks good. This has not been painted or anything, and even in here, this all looks pretty good. It's just dirty. So I did have an oil leak, and actually you can see the remnants of that. Various things, and the valve covers oftentimes leak, and that wasn't the case here after I had done the valve adjustments, but this is where it was leaking. And at first I thought it was this seal that goes around under the valve cover. So I replaced that, but then it didn't fix it. And then I learned that there's another seal inside this, and this unit has a worm gear, and it runs off of the camshaft. So the camshafts run in this way, and it spins. This is the tack cable, and there's a seal inside there. So I took that all out, got the seal out, and then put a new one in, and dry. So it looks like I've gotten that oil leak taken care of, but I seem to have another one still, and I'm not sure how bad it is because, again, I haven't really taken it out much. Only one ride for that. But so I was thinking it might be the oil cooler, but what I really think it is there's another plug right there. Let's see if I can get it here. At the end of this is a cam chain adjuster, and there's a little rubber plug right there, and those leak, and that is where I'm seeming to find, there's no oil on the bike right now, seeming to find that is where it could be coming from. So I'll fix that, and then if that takes care of everything, then my oil cooler lines can stay intact. So Anyhow, these are the things. It's an old bike, 40 years old. The rubber parts just get dry. But everything else, I gotta say, these rubber parts were all good. This was fine. He had kept the bike up, so the air cleaner, the air filter was good. I mean, you see the paint. This is the other thing. The paint looks really good from a distance. Like the side covers are actually perfect, and the tank looks really good, except when you look carefully, the paint's faded. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a difference between that and that, where the seat has, protected it. And I don't know why it's faded the way it is, and now you can really see the fading here on the tail section. So I'm not sure why it faded, because he insists that, the previous owner insists that it was not stored outside. So also there was some damage to the fairing, and it was right here, pretty big divot. And so I just fixed it, and then I sprayed it with just a rattle can, and you can kind of see the difference right there. But I'm going to get this done properly. Well, I'm not sure if I call it properly, because if I had a professional do this, it'd be $2,000, which may be worth it if I was really thinking I wanted this thing to be top notch. But again, I want this just to be a runner and something I like to have every once in a while and run. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get color right. I can actually get the color for this bike, and it's a two-part. So this is actually kind of like a candy color. So you spray the white first, and then you spray the red over it. So it will require some masking. I do have one of these stickers, which is great, decals. But when it comes to the tank, I'm probably not going to do anything, but I will do the tail section. And I'm probably just going to do the red part, because this is all fine. There's some clear coats coming off there. So again, it'll look good from 10 feet away. It actually looks pretty good from 10 feet away already. The other thing is the fender. You can see how faded that is. So you can see the difference right there. But that'll be straightforward. I'll paint the whole fender. So other things I've done is these things, the stocks crack and get really dry. A lot of people get rid of them. This is Tom from Tom's Cycle Recycling. He's out near in Worcester, Mass, and he makes these aluminum posts for these. But again, I wanted to keep it more original and also being cheap. And I don't want to spend a ton of money on this. I already kind of have, not a ton. I told Tom how much, who knows these bikes inside and out. I told him how much I have in it, and he's like, "Oh, that's not bad." Of course, he spends lots of money, and he knows people that spends lots of money on restoring these things properly. But anyhow, that's what's going on there. The brake calipers are all rebuilt. Master cylinders all rebuilt. I went through all that. So what I'm working on now, you may have noticed, forks aren't on it. So that's what I've been working on now, which this is a story actually. Hopefully you can hang in there for it. When I was just going to change the fork oil, because that bike handled pretty good, even though it had a clunk, like a rebound clunk, and I wasn't sure about that. I figured maybe the oil would take care of that. But as I got into it, I realized that this was going to be a bigger job than just changing the oil. Because when I was putting the forks back together, say the fork tubes and the fork legs, when I was putting the forks back together, they were two different lengths. I was like, oh, what the heck's up with that? So I had to get rid of, had to take them all apart. And so here's what they look like all apart. What ended up being the case is that one of the forks had this, it's called an oil, I forget what they call it, oil something piece. Anyhow, when it prevents bottoming, so that when the damper rods, this goes on like this, when the damper rod and the fork tube compresses completely like you're bottoming out, these little holes out here create an oil sort of damper, so it isn't hard contact. So anyhow, but there was only one of these, it was one in just one fork, and so it's like, oh, well, that's kind of ridiculous. So I took it all apart, and you can't get these things anymore, but Tom had some spare forks. So he was kind enough to give me some spare forks that I can get pieces from, and that's what those are. So these are all stock. Now, the other thing that was pretty cool though, which is probably why it ended up being messed up, is that I discovered they came with Racetech emulators. So these things, this is what you do to the old damper rod forks to make them, to upgrade them. And so I was happy to see that. And then I was like, oh, I read the instructions, and that this is actually for this particular bike. It has anti-dive. There's more to it than a lot of the bikes. But they did it right in that, well, sort of, in that they brazed over the holes that they were supposed to, except they were supposed to keep this one open, this little one, and braze over that one per the instructions. So I'm going to put a little heavier fork oil in it maybe, and see, because that's the rebound circuit up here. And then the compression circuit, they drilled out and chamfered them nicely. Looks like that's correct. And so I'll be putting those back together. Like I said, with the gold seal, the fork emulators. So one thing about these bikes also is that they had an adjustable rebound damping at the top of the forks, and how that operates is with a really long rod, and you have to cut that off to bypass the rebound damping. So this is what it looks like stock. And so the knob at the top here turns. There's a little plastic knob that goes over it, and that increases and decreases to a very slight degree your rebound damping. Also, the springs that came with the Racetech are also new, and they're better, a little more support. So why the bike with the forks back together? It's because I was piecemealing this, thinking that, well, one thing, I'll just do this and see what's wrong. Okay, once you get it apart, it's just time to replace everything. So I've got the fork seals, and I've got the bushings coming. These bushings, you can see, they're supposed to have a Teflon coating on them. You can just see them worn out. These were probably usable, but again, I'm in here, and they're not very expensive, so I got them on order. So, and I cleaned these up. These are actually where the fork bottoms, the lowers, that were the ones that Tom gave me. They actually were in better shape than the ones I had. And this is the anti-dive. This is all disabled. So they look pretty good. And then the bottom on both legs, you can see maybe, is they both have one of these. So that should be all set. Well, that's it. I got to say, part of this also that you come across is you got to drill out bolts at times, because these bolts have been in here for 40 years. So, bolt like that gets stripped. And this bolt is the one that's at the bottom, goes in the bottom of the forks, and they're notoriously hard to get out. And so I had to drill those out. And that's just the reality of working on old bikes. One thing that's been helpful is this butane torch. Just heat it up real good, and you'll be surprised. And the impact driver, really important. Also, I've got a, where is it? I got a impact, this isn't it, but impact driver, and that's been helpful as well. So these are just the things that you come across when you've got old bikes like this. So next week I should get the bushings, and these forks will get back together and get back on the bike. Unfortunately, being the end of December, and I've got close to 2 feet of snow outside because I live up in the hills, this bike won't get ridden for quite a while, but it'll be ready to go. I'm going to work on, I can't do the paint until it gets warmer. So that's where that is. So that's the update on the CB1100F. So sorry for the long video. And I didn't do a how-to because, frankly, the people that do how-tos, you got to be really organized to do those, because I'm, taking time. There's always something that comes up that you don't expect, like having to drill out a bolt, or, you know, something's stuck, or you put something in backwards, and then you realize you're studying the manual, the Bible. You're studying the manual and you're going, what did I do wrong? And then you go back and you like fiddle around, you do it right, and you go, oh, what an idiot. So there have been a lot of times when I was like, I thought I was kind of good at this, but just do stupid things, make stupid mistakes, you know. So these are the new fork seals and the dust covers. So those are all ready to go. So that's what that is. Well, Hank, thanks for hanging in there. That's just life in the country when you're a motorcycle enthusiast and you've got nothing else to do. I'm having a blast doing this. So you can see also I polished this cover. That came out really nice. So stay tuned. I'll be posting more up on Facebook about the progress. Like I say, after this, pretty soon the forks are going to go on, and then it's just going to sit and wait. And then I think I'll work on the Eddie Lawson bike a little bit, just get it cleaned up. That thing's running perfect, and that's solid. I think I'll need to get in the forks on that bike too. So anyhow, I'll do that. And then next week, looks like the ice is going to be good. So I'm looking forward to that. And you'll see some videos of us riding around. And then also I've got the new Tenere that I'll be doing a video on, just to show, you know, what I've been doing to it and, you know, what I think of it and everything. Pretty awesome bike. And the Tiger is for sale. If anybody's interested, let me know. All right, Ken Condon, riding in the zone. See you next time.